I'm Rose with today's Tuesday teaching tip. Today's Tuesday teaching tip is about experiential learning. Just as it sounds, experiential learning is learning through experience. And so these experiences that you have with learning help set that learning, help cement that learning so that you remember it years later. With experiential learning, the experience doesn't have to be this, wow, you know, Disneyland type of experience, but you do want to try and use as many senses as possible of the five senses, sight, smell, taste, touch, that kind of thing, in order for the experience to stick with you. For example, when we started homeschooling my son in fifth grade, we taught him how to grill. Well, before we taught him how to grill and smoke meats. Well, I say we, my husband. He taught him how to safely start a fire. Well, with that lesson, he taught him about the three things that you need to start a fire, and they went into this whole chemistry lesson with it. And he also talked about incomplete combustion and the changes in matter, on and on. He did a really good job of it because later on, when my son was in 11th grade in the chemistry class, and they were covering that particular topic, and the teacher asked, can anybody explain how, so you give me an example or explain how this happens? My son was excited to come home and tell us that he was able to do that in detail in chemistry because he remembered exactly and pretty much everything word for word his dad taught him in that experiential lesson. And so it can be something as experiential as that, or it can be something as simple as another lesson that we did when we were studying the metric system, and we were studying measurement and length. So we were looking at millimeters to centimeters, and centimeters to decimeters, and decimeters to meters. And once we got to meters, we looked at, how many meters does it take to make a decameter? 10. And so we used some rope and we cut the rope in order to look at what a meter looks like and what a decameter looks like. And we went outside in our neighborhood along this long path, or this long section of sidewalk, to be able to look at that. Then we said, oh, okay, so then 10 decameters makes 1 hectometer. So we did the end over end with the rope, and we did that 10 times to see what a hectometer looks like. And so then we got some rope and tied rope till we had the length of a hectometer, which was super long. We had dollar store rope, and we were able to do that. And then we knew that 10 hectometers would make a kilometer. And so we were able to visualize. And again, this set, because it was a really long lesson. Now, we did this in a couple of days. It wasn't all in one day because it does get kind of tedious, but it was interesting to see. And it was an experience being outside, measuring what does a kilometer look like within our neighborhood. And so it took a while for us to get around, but you were able to visualize and really set in stone what that looks like. And so, like I said, that took, a couple of days to do. And so making math fun, really setting it in, really having that experiential learning. Well, measurement's another way to do that. When you're looking at fractions, you can make fractions fun. You can look at fractions as, parts of a whole. You can look at fractions as sets. And so parts of a whole would be something like this. How many ways can you cut a pie? And so this is a cute little story and about having to share this pie and how many ways you'd be able to cut it in order to share with different amounts of people. Another way is, this one's a really neat one, because a lot of people, when we're talking about fractions, they look at fractions and they do the circle fraction. So you may need to make sure to also look at fractions with different shapes as well. And so this Hershey's chocolate book, very experiential learning. You have a lot of the touch part of breaking up the pieces of chocolate, and you get to the sense part of the taste. And so this is a neat way to anchor learning about fractions. This one is pretty cool in that you're going beyond a million, because you'll always have that question, well, what's after a million? A billion. Well, what's after a billion? A trillion. What's after a trillion? Quadrillion. Beyond that, I couldn't tell you because it's just not something I ever looked up. But kids will often ask, well, what's beyond that? And this book gives you some insight to what's beyond a million. What does a trillion actually look like? If I were to, how could I see a trillion of something, and what would that look like? And so that's what this book explores. And these are books that you can find them, at used bookstores, that you can find online relatively inexpensively. And then these happen to be dropped off. Somebody dropped these off at our office. And so I was like, wow, that'd be a really great lesson, beyond a million. And so these are those kinds of things that really set the learning. And so I hope that you're able to do that. Think about how to anchor a lesson, how to create an experience when you're learning something new. Because when you create an experience with learning something new, that learning sticks with you. All right, that's all I have for today. Don't forget that if you like these videos, hit the like button or the subscribe button so that you can watch other Tuesday Teaching Tip videos as well. Until next Tuesday, happy teaching.